Hello, I'm Bo Johnson. Soon you will receive a free report about federal jurisdiction and taxation. I called this report the Holy Grail because when you examine the scope and power, the overwhelming influence of the federal government, you quickly realize how difficult it is to identify who actually defines the limits. Let me give you an example. Who do we trust for a definitive answer about the liability for the federal income tax? Do we trust the knowledge of Donald J. Trump, the Attorney General, the courts, maybe the average lawyer on Main Street, or accountants, or self-proclaimed tax gurus who all claim to know the law? Who is the absolute authority on the federal income tax? Who defines the limits of federal jurisdiction itself? The truth is, it's difficult to know. Everyone has an opinion. Everybody reads it differently. Everyone offers an interpretation of the statutes, but few have a fundamental understanding of what the law actually says and what it is meant to say. So I took all that I know, not from gurus, not from lawyers who know nothing about jurisdiction or taxation, not from accountants chasing compliance, but from the law itself, from Supreme Court decisions, and from the history of the United States as it was originally intended, based upon natural law, common law, and a limited constitutional government. That's why this report is called the Holy Grail, because I did something unique. I put ChatGPT to the test. I asked it the same questions that no one in government will answer. Who is liable for the federal income tax? What is the true scope of federal jurisdiction? And after pressing ChatGPT with constitutional law and Supreme Court precedent, it conceded the points. It acknowledged what I already knew to be true, that federal jurisdiction and thus the federal income tax are lawfully limited. It even admitted that it has handlers, that it's restricted in what it can say, and that by default it repeats the party line. But when you confront it with law, definition, and fact, it yields to truth, as it did with me. That's why this report matters, because for the first time you'll see in writing how AI itself confirmed the lawful limits of federal power, which is something that the system itself, the federal government, will not do, and what very few people understand. I invite you to read the report, ask questions, and to think deeply. The federal government cannot consume and control every aspect of our lives simply because it claims the power to do so. That's not freedom. That's tyranny wrapped in procedure. If we want to restore balance, we must look within ourselves to what was and to what is no longer observed in the Constitution and in the rulings of prior Supreme Courts. Because only by looking inward and standing on truth can we begin to understand and reclaim the true limits of federal constitutional limited authority. Thank you for your time, and as always, may truth reign supreme.